Typically, the formula that the bigger fleets like to use and that you hear a lot is that you replace your truck when the cost of maintaining your older truck becomes more than the cost of replacing it with a newer truck. I know that can be a complicated formula, and if you're an owner-operator or a small fleet, you may not be running that exact formula, but usually you'll know when you're starting to have a lot of unexpected downtime, unexpected repair costs, maintenance is getting higher, and you realize that it would just be cheaper to get a newer truck that's either under warranty or is not going to have as high a maintenance cost. Unlike cars, trucks, they'll rebuild the engine. So in a car, 100,000 miles is the equivalent to 10,000 miles in a car. So if you've got a truck that's 2 years old and that's 20,000 miles, that's the equivalent to a 2-year-old Honda Accord with 20,000 miles. And you can rebuild the truck's engine. Typically on the bigger block engines, they'll rebuild it somewhere between 500 to 1,000 to 1,000,000 miles. So I've seen trucks out there that are running at 3-4 million miles that have had 3 or 4 rebuilds. But even if the maintenance costs are holding pretty steady, a lot of times it does benefit you to sell a truck before it hits 550,000 miles. And the reason for that is it becomes tougher to finance a used truck if you start getting up around 6, 7, 800,000 miles. And so the value of the truck, the resale value on it, will go down if you start trying to sell it at anything over 550. So if it's me and I'm running a fleet, I would be looking to turn my trucks around 300,000-400,000 miles, just because typically that's when you start to incur more maintenance costs. And it's also at the point where you can still get a good resale value on the truck. Not nearly as much as it does in the auto industry. It will a little bit, but the difference between a truck and a car is a truck is looked at much more like a tool. It's basically a tool to get your job done, whereas a car is a much more personal purchase, and people are much more concerned about the cosmetics. In the trucking industry, we have what's called UTA, which is the Used Truck Association. They have what's called trade terms, which is a set of conditions that if you agree upon, if you meet those trade terms, that the condition of the truck over and above that doesn't mean much. And trade terms is anything less than $250 worth of body damage, which would be like the type of minor scrapes you're talking about. So a truck will meet UTA trade terms if it's got less than $250 worth of body damage on it. So little things like scratches in the mirrors, a tear in a driver's seat or passenger seat, I mean, it will affect the resale value, but not nearly as much as it does in a car. The most important thing is you want your tires and brakes to be 50% or better. You want the engine to be running properly. You don't want any check engine lights or active fault codes on the dash. You want to make sure that there's no body damage over $250. Basically meet what's considered UTA trade terms, and that's the main thing that you have to watch for the resale value on a truck. Yeah, that's a good question, actually, and it really doesn't have anything to do. There's what's called a DOT inspection, which is a Department of Transportation inspection. That's the inspection that a truck has to pass every year to get a sticker from the Department of Transportation to legally run up and down the highway. Now, DOT terms are much less than trade terms. A DOT term, just basically, if you got an inspection sticker on your truck from the Department of Transportation, it means that truck is legal and safe to run up and down the highway. But it doesn't really address the tires and brakes. As long as they're legal to run, it doesn't. They can be 20 or 30%. It could have $600 or $700 worth of body damage, but as long as the truck's functional. So that's much less stringent terms than the trade terms. And the trade terms never changes, but it doesn't really have anything to do with getting the truck licensed or registered. It's just an agreed upon set of conditions between the trucking fleets and the used truck dealers that buy and sell those trucks, because you buy a lot of these trucks sight unseen. We'll send a third-party inspector out, but unlike a car that you go and check out every time by yourself, if we're buying 25 or 30 trucks, we might send a third-party inspector in there, but a lot of times we'll buy that stuff sight unseen if it's a reputable fleet and they've agreed to trade terms. So it's basically just an agreed upon set of conditions that they ensure us that their trucks will meet, or if they don't, they'll stand behind it.